Adam, there's definitely going to be cake. There's definitely going to be cake in the Aokiverse. You already know that.
Mr. Steve Aoki, welcome to Mint, my friend. How are you doing? Thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Let's dive right in, okay? We got a lot to talk about, but I like to start with a quick intro.
Let's talk about the drums you got behind you,
dude.
man.
The DW drum, I'm like, it's like reversed. You like them? I've had them since like
you're a
8th
drummer?
grade. I am a drummer. Yeah,
Oh, sick.
since 5 years old. Yeah.
It's actually like the hardest because I've been in so many bands. It's so hard to find a decent drummer. It's like gotta be.
You've never hit me up.
You know, it's I don't know. I feel like you've like anyone that picks drumming as far as an instrument to pick up is always going to be like there. I don't know how many bands you're in, but
dude, too many.
Yeah, right. Because like everyone needs a really solid drummer.
Everyone needs a solid drummer. And I'll tell you my thing. When I started playing the drums, or when I tried getting into drums, my dad tried to get me onto piano, onto guitar, onto everything but the drums because of the noise. And it wasn't until like I actually got on the drums where I felt like my seat. But I've always had like ADHD growing up, and playing the drums was the only thing that allowed me to focus because everything was moving. You know, everything in my body was moving. So just gravitated that towards that since 5 years old. But more importantly, beyond drumming, okay? Why we're here today, crypto, the beauty of Web3, the beauty of crypto, okay? I'm curious, dude, how did you actually get into crypto initially? Like, what's your intro story? Do you remember the first asset you purchased?
I was in China.
Okay.
I was in China and I was buying, it was 2018. It was when Bitcoin was at 11.2 before it hit 19 and went down.
What year was that?
It was December 2018.
Damn.
And I bought, I went in, I talked to my financial advisor, my business management team. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I've been hearing about it way too much. I'm late. I got to pull the trigger. I was watching it, tracking it, you know, like you got to pull the trigger. So I put 500K, put 350 in Bitcoin, 150 in Ethereum.
Damn.
When Ethereum was 450.
Have you sold since?
No.
Let's go.
I'm a bag holder. That's the problem with me, Adam. It's like with many things that I do, I'm like a long play guy. Like I did flip a few NFTs, but like I probably have thousands in my portfolio now. But I only flipped like maybe like I don't know, maybe a dozen.
All right. So Steve, I remember you got like me personally coming across you publicly in crypto was during Clubhouse, the Clubhouse era. That spurred a lot of the activity. I remember you already had a drop that you've done. You have a lot more in the works through Aokiverse, which we'll get into in just a minute. I'm curious though, when you first came across NFTs, did you see them as like a medium for building communities? And if so, why?
So when I first came across NFTs, summer 2020, when I started thinking about how to utilize this NFT, because I was thinking about like how to layer my music catalog. What can I do to offer something different outside the box with my music? So Blau introduced me to NFTs probably like late spring going into summer, and I'm like, okay, I need to find a digital artist then, I guess, and work with them. I know Blau's working on his music, his album,
right?
And turning that to NFTs. I'm like, okay, interesting. I feel like I could do that, but instead of doing my own music that I have out, I want to make something different for the space. And I was experimenting. It was during COVID, and I was just like having fun with music. And I was like, this is my unhinged Aoki sessions, you know?
Okay.
And then I could be able to like, I didn't even look at it like a collectible. I didn't even look at it like something based in the community. I just looked at it as a different offering for me to be able to experiment with music, work with a designer. And I love, like, outside of music, I'm constantly collaborating in fashion, in art, in products, in different mediums. And so it's exciting to develop like this character from this,
right?
My one of my logos.
There you go.
So I was like, okay, we're going to build out this character X. We're going to do something cool. I'm going to make some music around it, build a world around it. And it was just a fun experiment. And then later on, when it finally came out, February 2021, because it took like quite a long time to actually develop, because didn't really understand it. Then I understood community on that.
Got it.
During that drop. So during the drop, when I dropped Dream Capture, the collection, I was on Clubhouse, and I think there was like 4,000 or 5,000 people in the chat. And that's like the first time I got to meet Farouk, and me and Farouk are now like just like BFFs. But I understood like how important that the chat was. I haven't even entered a Discord yet. I didn't even buy an NFT, So I learned really fast, really passionately at a breakneck speed in that little chat room. And at that drop, when that drop hit, like we did 4.3 mil.
I remember. Yeah.
And then I just started getting my feet wet. And I also remember like in 2020, like late 2020, my friends were like, "You got to get into CryptoPunks. You got to get into this." I'm like, it's
You're like, why the hell am I about to spend so much money on a JPEG?
Yes. And back then it was like 20 grand was the floor. It was
Jeez.
really different like time frame. But
let me ask you, what was like the biggest question or concern you had getting into the NFT space, if any?
I guess it's like question that you just said. Like you're spending so much money on a JPEG. You don't understand the context. You don't understand that. It's. I mean, the way I see it, whenever I talk to someone that I'm like introducing into this world, it's one is art,
right?
Like it's I explain the same thing with someone's going to spend $10 million on this piece by a certain artist when the actual raw cost of it is just canvas and paint.
Yeah.
Right. Like really the raw cost of it is like under $50. And someone's willing, and then you understand that as a, as someone that sees that like this Basquiat sold for like $20 million, like we all understand that's okay.
Yeah.
We all understand it's fair. But when it comes to NFTs, they don't get it because it's not a medium that's like socially accepted yet. But there's enough of a marketplace for it, for it to exist. And that's kind of how I ease into that that's like the first challenge of letting people understand or
makes sense.
Opening it up. Yeah.
During the Clubhouse era, which funny enough, everyone's on Twitter now. I don't know who uses Clubhouse anymore. But during the Clubhouse era, I feel like that platform was like pinnacle for bringing attention and noise to NFTs. And I feel like a lot of the times the aha moment for a lot of people came through Clubhouse sessions. When you were getting more into NFTs, you got more of your questions answered. Do you remember like an aha moment coming across that medium and realizing, wow, we could actually do something really powerful with this? Do you remember that aha moment specifically?
An aha moment. Like for me, it's like very similar to like my music career. I like that same question has hit me many times on that. Like what was the aha moment in my music career? And it's hard to even decipher what that one, like there was never one big bang. It's always like these little kind of like, oh, that's very innovative.
Right.
That's really interesting. Like, yeah, there's certain artists that definitely make me think, like Pac, like artists like Pac and artists, that I saw them doing different things. Gary Vee is a perfect figure in the space that made me think on what, a community means, Pac's pages turning into poets. And like how he's always thinking, or they're always thinking one step ahead. It's adding to the inspiration to what someone like me can do. The hundreds doing the atom bomb,
right.
Like it's tied to their clothing line, So when I see that, I'm like, that's me too. I've been running Dimmock for 26 years as a label and a fashion line, and like I love that tie, the Fidgetal, And then there's like 888s, like allowing for his friends and families pre-sales.
Yeah.
And so basically all these are little aha moments of like just being in the space, seeing what my friends are doing and seeing what people that I don't know Pac talk, but I love what they're doing. And I just love seeing all of these little things happening. And the most amazing part about this whole thing is that I can actually do it too.
Yeah.
That's what's so exciting. It's not like 8-year-old me watching Michael Jackson on stage going like, there's no chance the barrier of entry to be on stage to perform in front of thousands of people is never going to happen. So I'm not even going to try. It's more like me being on the floor with the same bands I used to see when I was 16.
Right.
And watching them perform, me like, hey, I could pick up a guitar. I could learn how to do that. The barrier of entry is wide open for someone like me, for many other people. And that's what the Aokiverse became, is that like the inspiration from Pac and from Gary V's community and from 888 and from, just like learning about them, like from the hundreds and what they're doing. And just like going, why not create the whole thing, all of it, the membership with, pre-sales, and to the friends and family of all these different incredible projects they're doing,
right?
Ways to engage, interact with them, and then and also have the digital aspect. Like what does a wearable look like in the digital space, but also attach it with the physical.
So all these things that you're talking about right now is what we talked about earlier, like the Aokiverse. Okay, now you're getting a little bit more into it, but I want to put a pause right there and actually formally introducing it, right? Because you've been in NFTs, and this is like the next step. Like everybody's creating, well, not everybody, but like a lot of artists, once they start doing their first few drops, they try to imagine, okay, what does community look like? How do I bring my collectors together? And your Aokiverse is very much like a take on that, right? Like you intend to build some type of community online, which I'd love to give you the microphone and kind of give us the rundown. So that's kind of why I also wanted to have you here today, is to talk more about the Aokiverse. So what is that? What are you really trying to do with that, etc.?
Aokiverse is an exclusive community membership. It's like, when you think of course, it's based on me, right? It's based on the things I do. I'm a music art. I'm a musician. I'm a DJ. I'm a performer. But I also am a fashion designer. I'm also collaborating, working with many other different brands and projects, and the network that I've built out, the friends and family that have come along the way. That's what I consider the Aokiverse. And I really think that like the start of what it is right now as a membership platform is, you jump in, you get a passport. I think the passport is probably one of the most interesting things about the Aokiverse. You get this passport that's going to link to all these different verses. Eventually, it's starting out as an evolution, right? But eventually, we'll be a multiverse. We'll be a multiverse that's going to connect with all these different projects and different partners. I kind of like to see it like this, kind of weird analogy, but like, when you fly like American, it's like you're under like your program where it's like connected to this airline, that airline, this airline, that airline, and you get points and like you get to fly other airlines, you get to do other things, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of like the goal and the vision was like, what does it look like? Like I have so many friends, so many amazing, influential groups of people that are doing incredible things in the real and in the meta. And I want to include as much of them as possible. And that's what we're doing. So the past like 8 months, we're kind of like, as we're moving forward, we're saying, hey, come along with us for this ride. And you still have your world, but I want to be able to connect that. And as you build your points, your credits inside Aokiverse into your passport, and using like, Pac's model of like pages turning into poets, and then the poets can upgrade with more pages. The passport is like basically very similar concept where you add in and you stamp in your popes, your participation NFTs, and very similar to what I also love. Like I'm a ticket holder, like I'm a collector. I have like my Rage Against the Machine ticket from 1996 that I went to go see when I was a kid. I have like Shohei Ohtani's, like I bought his his like ticket stub of when he hit his first home run, because I'm a big Ohtani fan. I spent like $3,000 on like someone's used like ticket, $3,000 on like,
Jesus.
like
Wait, I gotta pull something up now. Hold on.
yeah.
Like,
Here we
give me
go.
a second.
Here we go.
All right. I'm exactly like you. Okay. I'll show this to the camera. I used to be a huge John Cena fan. All right.
Yeah.
That's the ticket that I kept for going to the SmackDown No Way Out on February 18th,
Right.
2007.
Yeah.
Had this belt, got this belt like yourself, collecting all this stuff. And like, these are like the elements that I wish could have been on chain. Right.
Yes.
So what I'm understanding is like these Aoki credits, these points, they work like mileage. Right. So like everybody has an account with Aoki. Right.
Yeah.
And like in the mileage world, when you swipe your credit card, you actually get mileage points, and you can spend those miles on better experience with like United, for example. Right.
Yes.
This is how I'm kind of understanding what you're talking about, these collectibles that people will be purchasing and whatnot, right? Give or take.
Yeah, exactly. And just like with that same system, a system we all understand, the more credits you have, you unlock different tiers that have different rewards and different access to, whatever it might be in all these different worlds.
Got it.
And also it's about being diverse too. It's not just about music and everything that deals with music. And of course that's a big, large part of it, but it's going to be like, like I'm working with fitness groups. I'm working with, esports. I'm working in tech. I'm working in all these different worlds.
Right.
I've known to be that kind of person already. I love being in a space I'm uncomfortable with or challenged by and learn. The Aoki Foundation, my charity foundation, where we focus on the brain. I am literally just constantly sponging in so much information when I meet up with scientists and researchers, and finding a way to include that into the verse. Like there's so many different things that so many different kinds of offerings that I think people can learn from, gain access to, have experience with. And also, I mean, the most part, it's ownership, like the things that you do, you own, like the wearables from like physical, like the skins that we're going to be doing, obviously all the drops, the NFT drops that we're going to be doing, like in only inside the membership. So
as like a Steve Aoki fan, okay, the first thing that comes to mind that when I get this passport, let's say for the Aokiverse, okay, like the first thing that comes to mind is watching you perform live, right? Like how does the passport get integrated to a live performance, for example?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a big part of that. Like certain levels of membership will get certain access. Like there'll be like a certain membership that like you basically come to every show you want forever. I mean, not forever. No, I don't want to say forever.
I was say, damn, I'm buying it right now.
I'll say that. I'm saying like, because we are updating it and we're all growing it, and we're adapting it. So for I don't want to say forever, but you get access to as this thing develops and grows, and I get too excited sometimes.
I see it.
I'm pretty passionate about this project. It's like that feeling where you're like it's Christmas time and you've been like waiting to like share the gifts with everyone. And you like know what you're giving the person.
It's like the presents are underneath the tree.
You're like wrapping, like it's like that moment, like it's like almost Christmas time, and I'm already kind of divulging. And we haven't really given away too much information on the rewards because we want to kind of like, keep it steady. But there is a pretty rich roadmap of what we're going to be doing. And our partners and the people we work with are incredible. I mean, we did list, there's like 20 odd different partners that are going to be part of the pre-sale. So like, anyone that owns any of their NFTs in their Discords, they will have access to the pre-sale before public sale on the 15th. And, whether it's Doodles or Janksy or Bomb Squad or Blau or, whoever else we've worked with.
The other collabs. Got it.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about like constructing this metaverse, for example, the Aokiverse, okay, we talked about some of the experiences that you'll kind of like reveal down the line as the Aokiverse grows and develops, and create excitement around that. I'm curious though, like when you were doing your other drops, the drops that first got you into the space, the collabs that you've done with other people, How did that kind of inspire what you're doing right now? Right. And like beyond that, for example, like when you think about creating a digital experience for your fans, right? How can you kind of include the ones that already committed, right, and already got some of your collectibles, and those that have no idea what NFTs are and want to get involved and love you as Steve Aoki and your music? How do you kind of mix both worlds together?
Yeah, I mean, that's what everyone is doing now. I feel like we're all stacking on top of each other. Projects that have worked, like I was just talking about, like you know, you know, like following Gary V, seeing
Right.
what he did with his community, and his membership of like VCon and everything, and just like luckily I was close enough with him to like learn and be a student of him, to following like these other friends and groups that are doing all these different things. Like I said, it's all about like combining as much of that
Yeah.
into one, because I myself am a multifaceted person. I am not just a DJ. I'm not just,
Right.
a producer.
Right.
I dabble in so many worlds, whether it's physical products, because physical products in itself, I'm not just talking about fashion. I mean, you go across the space. Like I'm wearing right now, like, my collaboration I did with Bulgari. So like,
Nice.
like doing
Sick.
collaboration with Bulgari on a watch, to, collaborating on shoes, to collaborating on tech, like all these different things. Like whenever there's there's something that really intrigues me, I've always gone to, what I consider the top and down, start from the top and go down and see if there is a collaboration that makes sense. And for the most part, for the past like last 10 years, you know, I've been able to find my way into these different
Hmm.
industries, and, obviously one, learn,
Yeah.
and two, bring forth some different level of service, attitude, something else that they might be looking for, and what I might be looking for.
Yeah.
And the best part is bring it all into the membership. That's what the plan is moving forward. Everything I'm doing, all these different partnerships, collaborations, not everything might not go into the membership because it might not make sense, but I am doing whatever I can in every single meeting. I'm doing what I can to see how that looks in the membership, how the community can be serviced from that, be entertained from that,
Yeah.
be part of that commerce.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to see how this kind of strengthens your tie between the people who love everything that you do, all the art that you kind of produce, from fashion to music to the list goes on, to now bringing this online and introducing this digital native kind of like somewhat of an identity factor when following you and everything that happens in the Aokiverse. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Where do you imagine? Because we're very early into this whole concept of metaverses, of digital communities. Like we've been living online for years now, right? But bringing in assets to tie it all together, right, through ownership, through provenance, through all these other characteristics, it's relatively new. Where do you imagine Aokiverse kind of like in 5 years, let's say?
5 years is so far.
I
You
know.
know,
This is why I ask it too, right?
yeah, 5 years is like too far for me to understand because it changes so rapidly. Everything moves at, like, I wake up and I see a project that's doing something that I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
like, and then like you try to build off that, right? So
Yeah.
like, 2 years ago, I mean, a year ago, like 2 years ago, you're like, what does the metaverse look like? I mean, we would not
You had
have,
no idea.
we
Yeah.
would have no idea.
Yeah.
Kind of like the idea of singularity, where, Ray Kurzweil's version of singularity, where there'll be a point in time where technology and AI will surpass human knowledge and intelligence, that we don't understand what will happen after that
Yeah.
point. We don't know. Like you can imagine, we'll be slaves to the AI, or we'll become the AI. I'm more about becoming the AI. I'm more positive where we're going. Um, and I love these kinds of these storytellings.
Yeah.
I love these kinds of books. So like that question is definitely intriguing to me. Um, but I think that whatever I say is definitely not going to be where it's going to be.
Yeah.
I just know that whatever I plan on doing is very present. It's very like of service, within a time frame that we can understand.
It makes a lot of sense, and basically what you're echoing, and I think like taking a hawk's eye view for a second, you're thinking of other creators, because a lot of what we try to do on Mint is to create like how to's. How can other creators kind of do something similar? It's like you being present is very much building in public, learning as you go, experimenting, throwing shit at the
Yeah.
fans, seeing what sticks. Like because it's so new, because we're pulsing with all the updates, all the new features that you don't like. People don't know what they're doing. Everyone's just trying new things and seeing what sticks and experimenting and trying to think outside the box, which I really love. You're very much approaching it like that.
Yeah, I approach it like this, like where if someone's going to come to me and be like, okay, I want to do this. I'm like, we're all of service.
Right.
Every human being is of service to each other. That's what, like, I feel like that's what we do. Like we're of service of whatever it is, whether you bake, you blow glass, or you're a chef, or you're a musician, you're an artist, a DJ, whatever you do that provides service, amplify that in this world.
Hmm.
And if you want to learn another trait, if you want to learn another trade or something else to be of service, yeah, you could learn it, but like, be of great service before you offer that.
Yeah.
There's so much service out there. So like, and it's clear, if you're providing great service, then you'll be successful with what you do. Period. That's how it works. You have to provide great service before you gain success. And I think for everyone else, that's why I always share that information. And I think that's like where this is the amplification of what that looks like in the metaverse.
Which by the way, very much brings you back to the Benihana days when I used to go there for my birthday. It's like it comes down to service, and I only bring that up because it's like a lot of your story, a lot of your upbringing. I remember in your book also you talk a lot about your dad, right, and how he started Benihana, and like hospitality equals service, like you're
Yes.
serving people, right?
Yes.
And that type of DNA has trickled through you and through art, through fashion, through NFTs, through this metaverse. The list goes on and on and on. It's a core principle that you kind of live by. I'm curious though, like, will we ever see a collab between Benihana or Pizza Aoki in the
You
Aokiverse? Do you
know
see?
what, Adam? They're like, I did talk about tech products, fashion,
Culinary?
vigitals,
Yeah,
like all this stuff I'm talking about. I did not even touch food,
there you go.
and it's going to be a component.
Okay,
It's going to be a component. It's actually something I'm building out, so I don't want to say too much yet. But
okay.
like, it's why I won't give away too many offerings. But myself, obviously, I grew up under my father who founded Benihana. Um, I went. He was doing Benihana, and I was like, as a teenager, I'm like, I'm going to pursue music.
Yeah,
And now I'm just getting like magnetically pulled, like just like that pull of like the family tie to get back at getting food.
yeah.
It definitely pulled me with like subconscious or what, I don't know what it is. But now, I'm an owner of like 10 different restaurant IPs.
Crazy.
Pizza Aoki, we have 20 kitchens. I've built out a chicken yakitori spot in Resorts World called Kuru Kuru Pa. Me and my brother have like some restaurants that we're doing. We started Aoki Teppanyaki, which is Benihana 2.0. We have
Jeez.
those restaurants. So like, there's a lot in the restaurant world that it's actually is like a full-time job in itself. Luckily, I have a team of people that handle that stuff. Uh, but yes,
But
that's gonna be also a part of it. Like pretty much everything I'm doing, which is a lot,
all tied
it's
together.
so many
Yeah,
facets.
yeah.
I think that's why this Aokiverse membership community has a lot of offerings that I think a lot of people would be surprised about. Like, wow, there's so much, and not just from my portfolio. You know, it's like, it's for me, the future of Aokiverse is the multiverse.
Yeah.
So it's like just connecting with
Transcends. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the different partners, and we have incredible partners that are doing incredible projects that are constantly thinking ahead. So it's
I'm excited. What's up, guys? Adam Levy here. Sorry for the quick pause. I wanted to give some love to our 2 NFT sponsors that are making this episode a reality. They are Coinvise and Polygon Studios. On Coinvise, you can create a personal or community-owned social token on Ethereum or Polygon. Coinvise also helps you create incentives through token rewards and bounties, NFT business models, and bot integrations for Discord. Discover more today by visiting coinvise.co. Polygon Studios is the gaming and NFT arm of Polygon, who's focused on growing the blockchain gaming and NFT industry while bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 gaming. The Polygon Studios ecosystem comprises highly loved blockchain games like OpenSea, Upshot, Avagachi, Zedrun, Skyweaver, Decentraland, and Decentral Games. If you're a gamer, builder, or NFT creator looking to join the Polygon Studios ecosystem, get started today by visiting polygonstudios.com. All right, back to the episode. So how do you actually, we didn't really talk about this, how do you access digitally the Aokiverse? Is it through like some 3D type of gamified component? Is it through, walk me through that a little bit more.
I'll walk you through it. So you get a credit,
okay,
Aokiverse credit, and the credit will unlock the first level of a passport.
Okay.
And then you get this passport, right? It's basically, you open it up and you put all the different activations or different proof of the popes, like things that you do in there.
Yeah.
And as you do more in the space, you get more credits, which unlock different level tiers inside the membership. And it's clear that you're like, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and and it's something that you own. There's something that you could sell, something that you could share, and as we bring in more of our partners and friends, whether they're doing airdrops, whether we're going to do a cross-board collaborations, whether it's physical and digital. Like, if we work with a particular NFT project and we do like a cool collab, because like we're already doing that now.
Right.
So I don't want to announce who we're working with, but there's some exciting like projects that we're going to be doing collabs with that only the membership holders will have, access to. So
most important question about the Aokiverse, okay? How do you plan to cake someone in there? Like, what does that look like?
That's a good question. Adam, there's definitely going to be cake. There's definitely going to be cake. You already know that. But yeah, what does that look like? Do
we all get cake?
Like, yeah, we need some devs in there. We need to build out that cake dev. But yeah, it's like, that's honestly, it's
a serious question. I feel like if you enter the Aokiverse, like the first thing you should get is caked. Like if you're like in a gaming setting, I feel like that makes so much sense.
It's crazy. I've caked, like at this point, I've caked probably over 20,000 people, 25,000. I think. I've been doing it for over 10 years, 11 years, and it never gets old. It's always it's literally like I'm Tom Brady and I'm throwing that touchdown pass, to the receiver, which is the person getting kicked. And when they catch that ball, when they get kicked in the face, the whole place erupts and they're just showing like, it's me, like turning around, showing everyone and they want it on the whole show. It's like that moment, like, yes, we did it.
Dude, has anyone ever caked you?
Oh yeah. I mean, on my birthday, Vin Diesel caked me pretty good at a show of mine.
I'm talking about like a fan coming back for like revenge. Like you're like, fuck this.
Yeah,
guy.
I definitely got caked by like various times.
Okay.
But yeah, I've seen some fans bring cakes to the show. But we have very specific cakes that we use.
I know. I feel you. All right, Steve, I want to talk to you more about like the paydays and like economics of performing and how that kind of ties into your thoughts on NFTs, on crypto in general. You're very vocal on like the economics between casinos, clubs, and artists and how that kind of plays all together. And I remember watching in a previous interview, you were talking about how if like you're an up and coming DJ, you have less leverage on pay than if you're more of an established DJ, to which you bring the audience everywhere you go and you have more leverage on everything kind of around that front. And I'm curious, now that you're like integrating an NFT metaverse play, and people will have a form of ownership in your brand, in the metaverse, etc. And get creative with me here, okay? Do you
Yeah.
ever see like your fans kind of like coexisting and negotiating on your behalf when it comes to performances, and kind of like dictating what the future of yourself looks like, what the future of Aoki looks like, et cetera, et cetera? Like, to what extent do you see your fans getting involved in these assets and the power that kind of comes through that?
I think the first is clear
Okay.
in music,
Okay.
because that's like the product, right? It's like music is art. So that's how I see it. So like that's what's so exciting about this time now is that with NFTs, music NFTs, there is a value on music that has been disregarded because of how poor the value of streaming really is, how much money artist makes from streams. So like first of all, that's already it's already happening thanks to Royale and what Blau's doing on that Nas project. I think that was
Yeah.
a great like start of where fans could come in and participate in the catalog. As far as shows, that will be a little bit deeper, and I'm sure
Hmm.
we'll get there. I'm sure of it. I'm sure like like the thing is that you could really go into any world. It is a service. So like what does that look like? I have yet to hear that conversation. I've heard a lot of conversation on the music side. I haven't had a conversation on performances, because
Yeah.
that could be a festival where it's like a fan control festival.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
I think about this from the point of view that, okay, now we're getting more. So we saw NFTs as collectibles, we saw NFTs as art, like you said. Now we're getting into the cycle of music NFTs. And the gray area is still present of what ownership really is when you buy this music NFT, whether it's a one of one, an edition. And I'm like thinking out loud here, like as NFTs become more of a thing, as artists see the value of like, wait, I just made $100,000 worth of streams in 1 minute, for example, from like a drop that otherwise would take me months to get on Spotify,
yeah,
let alone payout, right? And I'm starting to think like, okay, so now all these artists are going to have more assets of themselves on chain. They're going to build communities around these assets. Some will have levels of ownership to them. I wonder for like an up and coming DJ, an up and coming artist, what role do the fans actually play, right? So if the DJ brings the fans and you're able to bring leverage based off that discussion to casinos, to
right, right,
clubs,
yeah.
will artists have that same level of influence? Like, nah, this guy's not playing and we're not coming if like you don't pay him X, Y, and Z, because we also have a stake in that. You know what I mean? And it might be too far fetched, but I'm thinking out loud here.
That's definitely in the future. Maybe it's a 5-year game plan you're
Okay.
talking about, like what it
Okay.
looks like, because you know, but it does, when you think about like um when let's take another parallel. So with
Okay.
radio, right? Before, radio is like they only dictated like, okay, uh when you get playlisted, it's only like probably 13 songs that play, maybe
Hmm.
less than 1 hour, and they play that in rotation. You know how hard it is, like it's 10,000 songs coming out a day. So it's like it only like 13 or 10 songs are played in rotation, period, on every
Crazy.
station. How do you get up there? It's generally it's like it's a very bureaucratic, very archaic system of how it gets in there. So like new artists can't really make it in there unless they go through that system. And then TikTok came through and kind of changed that. So you have like artists like you know what you know about rolling down in the deep. Like you have like songs like that, right? Mass Wolf, that like actually are being played on there
Yeah.
because this platform changed that game. And the radio, the way radio is structured would have never put that in there.
Right.
So I think that like what you're saying, it definitely upends the system, and the system always can be upended. Like to play it like Omnia, for example.
Right.
The other day, Adam, for the casino, what they care about numbers.
Right.
So if that up and coming DJ that has a huge crypto base, right? That's supporting them. That's saying like you have to book them. We're going to show up. If they don't show up, if they're not part of that, it's going to be a big flop. Because the rest of the world, needs to also know, DJ whatever unknown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think for smaller clubs, things like that, you could do that.
Another interesting thing, by the way, just on that tangent, like I imagine a world where Omnia has its own NFT fund and they're buying into the NFTs of like up and coming DJs that they want to promote and shill and boost the value of their bags, kind of thing. I imagine this with like radio stations too, with record labels, etc., as value accrues to these assets.
But like but you don't want to risk the main bag,
right?
If like you're shilling your own DJs and then you're putting them in the club, and then no one cares or no one knows, you're gonna like your business is gonna go like belly up. So it's like I think just like with anything out there, if you're constantly shilling your own thing, it's not gonna work over time. Like you might have like some like quick flip gains, but long term, it's not gonna work. You need it like it's all about diversity. It's all about adding in talent. It's all about adding like longevity. Like artists that aren't even part of that, I'm sure you could, of course it's going to happen. You're going to shill like your own personal project, but like you need like 90% of it to be like what people really want.
Yeah.
I think that goes with everything. It's like, you need to give people what they want and then give people what they would never expect and then introduce them. I'm like that in a DJ set. I think like the philosophy of my DJ says, I think about it like almost in the same way as business. Like when I'm DJing and I'm playing, they come to see Steve Aoki. So I have to play Steve Aoki music. So I'm going to give them like the Aoki hits, what they expect, right? But after what they expect, once they're on that high, then I give them something that I want to give them, a brand new song that they never heard of, that they might be like, yeah, cool, I'm down. But I'm in this high spirit that I want to hear about it because it's your new song and I love your old songs. So like that's the perfect time for me to offer that. And then I give them something that they expect and that they want. And then I give them something new. And then I give them something completely that they would never expect. It has nothing to do with about me. That they're like, oh, this is from my childhood. Oh my God. Like, yes, and then I give, and at the end of it, like all these different layers of feelings and emotions in this roller coaster ride, I'm able to share things that I love, that I'm so excited to share that they might not even care to hear. Give them what they want, give them something surprising. And then they leave. Most importantly, they leave with the Steve Aoki experience. Not a great experience, but a great Steve Aoki experience. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
That's why I throw the cake. That's why I was using the raft in the crowd. That's why I was doing certain things that are like very consistent to a unique show that they will never forget. Like 10 years later, maybe the person that got caked in 2012 and the person that was there would always remember, my friend got caked. I got caked 10 years ago. I'll never forget it. It was the best experience of my life. They're not going to remember the songs, right? So it's always about like what I want to create a memory that's unique. I want to create like an outstanding, acceptable memory.
I'm curious to see how that kind of translates into the Aokiverse, and as consumers, as us fans, kind of dive deeper into what the metaverse even is for them as users.
That's a question that my whole team is we're like trying to figure out how to answer that so that we can give that kind of service, and the best way for me to do it is dynamic. It's changing, it's evolving, it's growing, it's adding in all these different layers and all these different kinds of offerings. I mean, of course, it's like, we want to give them what they expect. We want to give them the pre-sales. People want in on pre-sales. They want in on the allow lists on like new projects. That's going to be part of it too. So people want the exclusive drop, so they're not waiting in line. It's like you wait in line for at Supreme or whatever it is. You wait in line, like you want the exclusive thing. You get that access. You want, like, those are things that you have to bring to the table, and then you want to offer something new. You offer something new. You want to offer something surprise. Same kind of thing.
Yeah. You're constantly evolving, and you really recognize that, Steve. One thing I want to also talk to you about is like with the introduction of music NFTs, with independent artists kind of using crypto and Web3 as a medium to kind of monetize themselves, build direct to fan relationships, right? And sharing the upside, sharing the ownership of what it is they're trying to do, etc. How do you imagine like the future relationship between a record label and a music artist evolving thanks to crypto?
Yeah, I mean, it's leveling the field for sure.
Okay.
It's giving way more control, especially for independent artists. It allows them to be independent and have that control, and labels will have to adjust and understand how that that like they can't like the labels have to change. Period. The labels have to change, and they'll have to offer more. They're going to be. It's almost like I almost see it like this. Like, why does an independent artist still needs a manager? They still need a team. I mean, and some independent artists, don't get me wrong, some independent artists, they manage themselves. And I think that's awesome if they have the bandwidth and they have the network and they have the time. Um, that's where these other players that are part of that business have to take on that role, whether, you know, the manager and the label and the artist, they all kind of work in tandem. Like, it's at the end of the day, the business isn't growing that artist's music catalog and music's IP, so we could all share in the revenue.
Mhm.
So it's like what labels will probably have to do in the future is offer more than just making sure they're on playlists. Making sure that, like, certain things are financed, because if it's already being financed by crypto, then that was actually one of the major points of why a lot of independent artists decided to major labels, because they're like, sweet, we got that big paycheck that we would have never got.
Mhm.
Well, if you get that paycheck from crypto, then you need to offer something else, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I don't think that labels are going to go away, just like
Sure.
managers are not going away.
Sure.
Independent artists need a team. Everyone needs a team. No one can work alone. That's certainly the way I've learned
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Everything I've done is not alone. I have an incredible team in different fields of all the different industries I'm in. I have different people that I trust, and that we go into this business together. And it's just going to be more of a level playing field and more a designation of what the roles are, to propel a business.
It's also interesting because we're seeing artists who have record labels now trying to use crypto to crowdfund money to buy back their catalog,
Right.
from the record labels to try to create and create more of that startup-y like team that you kind of talk about. Like, people need
Right.
their artists, right? People need someone to manage socials. Like, a lot of creators just know how to focus on creating because that's what they do best, but they need
Yeah.
other pieces in their team to kind of do the rest. So I don't know.
The
We're
other thing,
seeing,
the other thing I want to add too
yeah,
is like labels. For me, it's always been like when I remember being in a band, and when I signed to a label, I didn't even sign. It was like not even a contract. I just put out a record. So I put out a record on this label. Like, for me, it was more like I just wanted to be part of that community.
yeah,
Like, I loved all the other bands on that label. So I'm like, oh my God, how cool is we're on the label? Like,
mm,
our favorite bands are on this label. How cool is that? And then when they do a show or a festival, it's like we're all lined up together like a team.
mhm,
That's like the same philosophy of what's happening, obviously, in NFT culture. We're so excited to be part of these communities, and we meet other people that have the same like-minded passion and interest, and the bond is so much more powerful than just the JPEG. It's like the community, as we started in the first. I think one of the first things we talked about is how important the community is. That goes the same way with labels. Like, I think, for at least for me, the way I think, you sign to an label because you love the other artists that the label put out.
okay,
And that's why, like, I always do, pre-COVID, I'm trying to get them back going again. But pre-COVID, we were always doing the DIMAC parties. We had early days, we had DIMAC parties every single week in LA. It was the coolest party in Los Angeles. I'm not kidding. And then we throw, like, DIMAC stages at festivals at Tomorrowland or at different festivals, or we throw a DIMAC party with all the artists come through and we all hang out. Do dinners, chill, whatever, like the whole thing, do production camps, whatever, work together as friends. That's what it's all about, you know? And of course, like, then there's the business side, making sure that the business is fair. But for me, like, the philosophy of signing to a label, it's not about like, it's about like that kind of community, you know, it's like, it's a big part of it.
Are there any areas in music NFTs that you feel like have yet to be explored more, um, beyond just buying and collecting songs, for example, and earning royalties?
Yeah, you know, the music NFT space is just a start. Like, well, we haven't even really begun, and that's like the big conversation I've been having with other artists and musicians, is that we haven't even tapped into what it looks like, because it's a bit complicated, obviously, because like, you know, the securities issues of like what that looks like. I mean, in theory, it sounds great, you know, but is that possible? Like, can you do that with, like, you know, because it's like this wild old west, like this decentralized frontier that we're in. You know, if we start mixing in things in the real world that have ties to, you know, things that aren't, that you can't tie in. I don't know. I don't know all the legalities there.
Sure,
So
sure,
I
sure.
think that's one of the reasons why it's it's like mindfully taking small steps to seeing what, like, you know, when we have a clear idea of what it looks like and what we can actually do. I mean, we're gonna go across the board, just like we're talking about, even like live performances and
Yeah,
things like that. You know, like,
yeah. And I bet the Aokiverse pass holders would be the first one to kind of reap that, from how I understand that.
I'm putting my head in that space as much as I can, and doing it safely.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I don't necessarily need to be the first one to pioneer in that space, because like it's terrain I don't know, understand legally, and all that stuff is happening. I just wanted to be, so we're not like jumping into something too excitedly, you know. But yes, in the music NFT space, as it comes to Aokiverse, there will be components that will start seeding there for sure. Um, I mean, there's a lot that's going to happen, you know,
hmm,
but it's
yeah,
all like I said, it's an evolution. We're going to adapt and grow, and you know,
yeah.
be as dynamic as possible.
Yeah. I want to get a little personal with you because you did publish your book, I think in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or around that time. And you really did open up to your fans, to your audience, to the people reading. And, despite all the people, energy, fame, the shows around you, you wrote in your book, and I paraphrase this, it's not a quote, that you still feel alone and that life still feels somewhat empty. Okay. And I'm curious if building digital communities online in Web3 changes that at all for you? Like, does that unlock? Can it unlock something for you that's missing, for example, like in the physical world?
It does, actually. It really does. You know, it actually brings me back to when I was a kid. Uh, Whenever, like, okay, it's funny because a lot of the things that we do in our lives, there is like an inner child in all of us, and like the inner child's always there, no matter how old we get. It always has its issues. It's like whatever it's going through. And my inner child growing up was trying to fit in. And you know, I grew up in Newport Beach, and the way I don't want to go too deep into this, but you know, it is a bit of a introspective question. Um, when I was growing up, you know, like the way kids socialize is you enter sports, you know, and like
Sure.
you make friends through that. I tried all the sports. I just was a like absolute failure. I just sucked. So I remember I played like soccer, and I scored 2 goals, but on my own team.
Jeez, come on, Steve. What are you doing here, dude?
Basketball, same thing. I would like score the same hoop as like I got Steve up. I've been like I played one game of football, like one pass. You know, I love sports. I just was not very good at it, and and I just, you know, and also just Newport Beach was is 96% white, so you got to think,
Yeah,
as a person of color or Asian or a minority of any sort, there's going to be a level of, you know, just difficulty
sure,
to fit in.
sure.
And And when I found music, when I found particularly hardcore, it's a subset of punk music.
Yeah.
There were like these outcasts, and they would just hang out, and they're like, we don't care what you look like. All we care about is that you just like love this music, you know.
Yeah.
But here's a mixtape. You know, tell me if you like it. It's kind of like almost like a religion. Like when someone like knocks on your door, it's like, here's like this thing. So it's like
Jehovah's Witness.
very simple. Like, here's a mixtape, and this guy made me a mixtape, and I'm like, I can't believe a guy actually spent all the time making me a mixtape. It's so cool. This mixtape's all screaming, like, you know, like, but it's all like, strangely enough, like it sounds angry, but it's all very positive music. Like, yo, we're gonna get through this. It's like almost like wag me. I swear to fucking God, it's like wag me. It's like, we're gonna make it. We'll do it together. We're all. I swear, it's so crazy.
Oh my God!
It's literally wag me. It's called. You know what it's called? PMA. Positive mental attitude. And it's like all the lyrics are about this kind of same approach of life. Like, together we're gonna do it. We know we don't fit in with the rest of the world, but we're gonna get together. The whole thing. And when I found that, and I found this kind of bond with these like few kids, then I was like, this is my community. I will do whatever I can to bolster it. That's when I learned how to play guitar and bass and sing and record my first demo, because you had to make music to actually get it out there. That was your way of contributing. And like, you know, just going back, you know, totally digressed there, but going to these, you know, the community, the Discord groups, like whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of different groups as well. I talk with my friends on. It's like, that's the first thing I look at. You know, that's the first thing I like connect with. I'm like, guys, I just got this. You know, like you share, like, you know, the
NFT, like, look what I just bought. You send an image of it. Yeah, I feel you.
It's like, I love that feeling of finding like-minded, passionate individuals that are excited and like hungry, and we're all in it together. And WAGMI is a real thing. You know, it's like, it sounds like a joke. It sounds like a joke, but it's an absolute real thing.
You know, your story really resonates with me. Obviously, we talked about the drums in the back. When I was in high school, I was like hella fat, like 230 pounds fat. Like I was a blueberry, legit. And I remember I never really fit in with the cool kids, never really fit in with the girls, but drumming was always my thing since like 5 years old. And I remember I came across the jazz band and I was like, wow, this is super cool. It's a bunch of other weirdos that are just like fucking talented, you know, and this is my circle. And then shortly enrolled. And then like, yeah, I hear you. And like that same, like, I don't want to call it imposterness, but that same level of connection, that same level of identity, I found very similarly in crypto as well. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think we all I think all of us have that kind of like, you know, the sense of belonging. You know, we'll always want that. It doesn't matter if we're 6, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We want to have like something that we all like believe in. And I think it's actually cooler when it's not like a social norm.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure. You're the cool kid. Like everybody wants to know what you know.
Yeah. And like when people come in, they're like, I've been hearing about this. Like, you know, it's like the same thing when I was doing shows in LA. We threw the Dim parties in LA, and we'd have, you know, like Lady Gaga's first show there. You know, like to hear. I remember like her manager would call me and be like, "Hey, Lady Gaga wants to perform." Like no one, she was her first show, so no one knew who she was. But and yeah, she's a new artist. We'd love to have her play for free at your shows, like the 2 shows I had in LA. Like yeah, sure, come through. And then like, you know, 6 months later, she's like the biggest thing on the planet. But it's so cool that like when you have something that's small and it's cool and like everyone wants to be there, and you know, it's like exciting. And I always find myself in those circles. I always do. This is where I feel the passion and the energy right now, you know, and I want to keep growing that and building it. And, you know, I'm gonna give you another parallel. Like okay, so I'll be quick.
Go.
So like with punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
When I found that world, it's very like once you're in, you're like, yes, we made it. Like we're doing our thing. Like, but it's very exclusive. It's very like, no one else can get in. it's just for us. Like, fuck everybody else. Like, fuck the
Yeah.
world, And I was really like, yes, yeah, yeah. Like I found it. Like fuck the world. Yeah. Like that kind of like anger, And then when it transformed into EDM as a DJ, it came the complete opposite, where it's like, I want everyone in. I want, like, as long as you have that same energy, please
Bring
come
it.
and
Bring it.
feel the same like if you feel the same energy, join us. Because that's all it's all about. Like, if you think about art, music, books that we read, movies that we watch, all these different things, we are looking for things that will make us feel a way that inspires us. It gives us tingles down our arms and makes us get up off our seat and do something with our lives that we didn't do before. That's why I spend so much money on a Banksy in my house. That's why I stare at a piece of art for like 30 minutes, feeling a certain way. That's why when I watch a movie and I cry, like I'm like, fuck, it's my favorite fucking movie. I want to share it with everyone. Or book, I write to the author and I want to meet them. Like, it's like we're always looking for those kinds of experiences. Life are all these kinds of experiences. You want to make them the best that we can.
Yeah, I hear you. I wanna wrap it up with one final question. Okay, so I came across this interview by the Wall Street Journal. It was taking place in 2019. Okay, the journalist asked you, where do you imagine the Aoki brand 20 to 30 years from now? To which you were like, what? That's so far away. Similar to like the 5-year question that I asked you, and you replied, we're at this precipice, this point of existence in technology that will either make us the last generation to die or the first generation of people to live forever. My question to you, are NFTs the technology that allow us to live forever?
Uh, well, it'll allow our legacy to live forever.
Okay.
But for us, because I do believe, and this is a long one, Adam, but I do believe that we will find technology. I'm very much I'm very optimistic on certain things, and I always say this. I live between science fiction and science fact. That's where I like to live. I like to live right here. And whatever's happening, crossing the line of science fact, whoever is crossing that line, I want to jump into their boat and learn, and then share that, and actually help speed the process. Speeding the process is where the foundation comes in. That's where, like, you have to raise money. We raise over $1 million in funding all these different research. But I want it to happen in our lifetime. My insurance policy is that when I die, I'll be frozen in Kelvin degree temperature. So that way, they'll be able to like tinker with my brain and bring me back to life.
Accessible through the Aokiverse too. Yeah.
but like, hopefully we can do it. Like, I'm 44 now, so I technically only have 40 more years left of if I live by my average life expectancy. But I'm very healthy, so it's probably later.
Yeah.
But like literally, I think I only have 40 years left. 40
Okay.
years left. Not much fucking time, man. I feel like I've learned 2% of what I can learn in all the growth. I mean, in 44 years, I'm at 2%. That's what I feel like. I feel there's so much more. And I only have 40 years left. It's fucking sad. So I'm really thinking about allocating my time into finding ways to, push. Like, living forever is a scary concept. Okay, well, the easier way for me to explain is just living longer and more optimal.
Okay.
We can all agree on that, and we can agree on that. I think more when you think about your parents, your grandparents, people that you love with all your heart, and you want them to live a healthy, happy, long life filled with energy, enthusiasm, and like smiles and joy and laughing. You want them to be living their best life at 97. You know what I mean? Because you love them. You think about them, you will do whatever you can to find ways for them to live longer. So I think that's how I really want to share this kind of feeling with people. So like, if we all go in and try to like help out and want this kind of research to happen, then essentially we go from 80 to 90 to 100, 110, 120, and beyond.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I love it. I think that's a perfect place to end off. Steve
Yeah.
Aoki, thank you so much for being on. Hope to have you on again soon.
Definitely, man. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate
You
you.
got it. See ya.